also get a picture of our new Toyota that we're enjoying so much with our new bike rack on it. Come on, Ray. Come on in. Sit down. This is our new porch that Ray fixed. Doesn't it look nice? We've got the new ceiling with the panel. See the new porch that we made? Ray did all this work. He put in the new hung ceiling with the panels and had to scrape all the paint. What a big job. And we really enjoyed it while we've had it done.
On. Okay. On downstairs, honey.
It's been a neat staircase. The kids love to climb up these stairs. And Ray made this great bookcase. It really helped us out, and I think it's a real pretty addition to our home.
So this is the living room, and we have a fireplace, which is an electric fireplace, which does not give off any heat. I'll turn it on, let you see what it looks like. Hope that picks that up.
Yeah, we get a little bit of flame.
Now you can shoot up to the side there. That's the wheel that Mark and Terry gave us. And this has been a real pretty scene, I think, for people as they have come in the house.
Oh, I had a glare on that picture, so I needed to shift over here where I could get...
This is a retake, and see if we'll have spliced this in just right like Hollywood. As I was saying prior to that, this is a picture that appeared on the dining area of an old packet boat, an 1800 sternwheeler. It would appeared in their particular salon at about 1896. The upper part is, you get that, is a Civil War sword and a gun that we've had over the years. The Civil War sword is a Confederate non-commissioned officers made in South Carolina, and the rifle is a Springfield. This is a picture, pictures of earlier days. We have a clock here that the kids gave us, Dean and Bridget.
And Cindy made the wreath up above, isn't that pretty?
Cindy made the wreath. We've got quite a few of the books off the shelf. If you would just turn real carefully, see if you can get the map in 18. Just take a little shot of that. That's a 1861 map of the United States. It's quite a treasure. We've had to find in each house we've lived in a wall large enough. I'm afraid it's not going to fit in the trailer. Now I'll have Tony show you the kitchen and the dining room.
Walk into the dining room. This old school desk we brought from Arizona. Now we're going to get to take it back to Arizona. And we like our dry sink with our colonial furniture and our ceiling light we've enjoyed. And we've debated whether to take it, but Ray, I think I want to take it. I don't think I can do without it.
Huh.
And then to go along with our decor, we've really enjoyed our plate rail. And it just seems like we've just added a collection to our plates. Grandma Anderson gave us a good start with some, and we've just kept up with it. Now we have our picture wall with our case drawer. Is that what it's called? California job case.
Very good.
And
that's better than the students.
I like my Swedish hanging thing that I got down at Andersonville, and this old tray Dean made. So we've still got some treasures around that are really special that are going to find. Come on into the kitchen. I'd like to show you my kitchen. I think it's so warm and real homey. And one of the things that Ray did that made it really special is putting up this shaker rail with the pegs, but also he made this darling shelf that I think is just really neat that hangs on a shaker rail. And Ray, we're going to take it with us because I decided I don't want to give it up. You're just going to have to make me another rail.
You said the other day we should leave it.
Yeah, I know, but I really can't give it up, and they won't miss it. And I really like our chair rail that goes around the wall, and some of our memorabilia that we have collected. But also the other thing that he added was our cup shelf. We really didn't know we had so many cups, but we had a few cups and he made the rail, and there we are. We've really collected a lot of them. And then I've always loved my clock that says God's timing is perfect, that Guy gave us one year for Christmas. It's just really been really neat. We're looking at the other side of the kitchen and showing the built-in cupboards, and we bought some, and some of them were here, but Ray made them to look alike by putting the lines in them, and it made it really dressed it up a little bit. And then we have the ceiling that with our beams on it that's really neat, and then things that we have hanging from the beam, copper pan that we got in Mexico, and the microwave that Ray gave me a couple years ago for Christmas. We're finally learning how to use it. And this counter has just been a real lifesaver. This kitchen just didn't have any workspace, and so it's just been a really nice kitchen, and we're really happy to have sold it to a family with children, and I think they're going to enjoy our home a lot.
Oh, I think so too. I was glad that they have a boy 7 and a new one on the way.
And a new baby.
Oh, that's good.
So I think we're going to try to get the pantry. It's kind of small, but it's really a neat little addition to our kitchen. And Ray put in these narrow shelves that really give us a lot of space for our canned goods and our pop. And then around the corner, I don't know, Ray, if you can get around there.
Yeah, we'll try.
We have the cupboards that my dad made when we first moved here that really have been a help. And then we do have a hanging rack there. Maybe when we go outside we can get a picture of that. But that's been kind of a sort of a mudroom for the kids too, and so that was really handy, and will be handy for the new family that's taking over our home. So we're glad to give it up for them.
Let's go out in the backyard.
Okay. Maybe a lot of light and glare, but here we go.
I got it.
Can you just pan the whole yard from there, or you want to
Okay,
come back and
I
look
can
at the
do
back of the house?
Boys have really enjoyed the backyard over the years.
We took out big trees right in the middle of the yard so that there was more play area. So that made it nice, and we planted new things around the side that grew pretty good. Oh, there's a kitty gonna run through our garden.
Hello, kitty.
Can you put the zoom on and see my lettuce? We used to have more of a garden back there.
We'll go down and see how close we can see your red flowers here. I hope I'm hitting them. I'm not really sure. Since this thing is in black and white. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There used to be a really big garden, but I don't know whether it's the big tree that's in the backyard. We've always had a boat stored, so we'll show our boats. The sunfish is sitting there with a flat tire and the canoe on top of it. And I made a cover for it, so now we're finally protecting the bottom of our canoe from the sun. And then the back door that goes down the basement. We could go down the basement from here, right?
Not today. It's kind of messy. Okay, that's good.
Okay, maybe you can see these pictures here on our wall that we've had at the foot of the stairs. And then as I come up the stairs, we've had this nice shelf that we've put some of our decoration on. We began all of our work about 3 months ago to get the house ready, and one of the things we did was wallpaper this wall. So we've taken down most of our pictures and even gave them to, the ones that we'd gotten from Uncle Clarence, all those old pictures, we took them down to Keokuk. But here we have one of our pictures left. This shows our air conditioner that has been a lifesaver in the very humidity times of the year. And we just have a couple of the pictures on the wall here left of our boating ones that we wanted to keep specially. This one was Ray's. This was the boats that he was on when he worked on the river, and those were great years, weren't they, Ray?
Oh, yes.
But you had to leave the river when you got married, right?
Okay. Master bedroom, we've decided to do it a different way. Instead of us coming in with the camera, we'll come in first so that we can keep from getting the bad glare off the window, as I hope.
Yeah, you're in there light, so
Go
you
ahead.
have to get way over. This is our lovely furniture that Ray refinished as unfinished furniture that goes with our colonial room. The pictures of our collection of pictures that have been our enjoyment to see every day. And then we have the closet that's the companion to the entrance door. And our 3 sons and their wives in their wedding pictures. And then our wall with more of our lovely wall hangings. We got Michael there in when he was just real tiny, and the lovely poem that Terry embroidered for me called Footprints. Just love that, and that was a lot of work for her to do. Now,
Pretty good, but we'll try and pick up the pretty drapes that Antonia made.
no, I didn't make them, but they go with the bedspread and the
Oh,
decorative.
well, I'm not sure this is going to come out, but we'll give it a shot. That shows the bedspread. Just take, since the window sends off so much light, but also the fact that the room is very small. This is not a real wide-angle lens, but we'll try and get a little piece of it here. This was Guy's room. Which room the little boy picked. It came here. I guess he came upstairs and picked his own room, but I have a feeling that this is probably the room he picked because of the airplane. Now, if I can shut this off. Pictures of his ships and
the bookshelf.
bookshelves, but it's not too good. Antonia uses this room now for her study, and so that's where she sits every morning. And how much we're going to see of this, but this is the closet or the hallway that has the closet doors and has actually the break off of all the rooms. There's 6 doors going off of this small area. We'll move up.
Yeah, now this is Mark's room, and again, a pretty small room, but it was very adequate. It was able to have a dresser and a desk and a bed in it, and he had a room of his own, as all the boys did, which was a nice thing.
This room for now is our rowing machine. We're able to get our exercise and keep out of the way of just the normal living.
Now we're going to try to take the bathroom because it's very, very small. So Ray is standing in the bathtub and leaning back on an awfully nice little counter that we have there. We're not going to get a picture of because with the light, again, it shows just a silhouette. He put in this drop ceiling, which is really made it a delightful room. And I can stand here at the mirror and have a mirror in the back, which makes a nice way to work in the bathroom.
You put on all the wallpaper and did all the painting, so it's been really nice.
It's been fun to have this wallpaper because I have towels that match the 2 colors. As we start into Dean's room, I see Ray Anderson silhouetted at the desk because we have so much light in the background.
This is, after Dean left, I use this now as a study and also as a dressing room. It's worked real nice. This has been a real comfortable room of the house because of the extra windows. I have my computer and the TV and everything I need to sustain life here for some time. Now we're on, Mother's trying this from a different angle, so we'll see what happens here. But we'll then go down the basement and let you see where we spent most of our time as far as watching television and so forth.
Okay, I come down the stairs to the basement, and this has been our real everything room that we've enjoyed so much. And here's our pool table, which we made our rec room when we first moved here, so that although the boys had small bedrooms, they had room to play and to spread out, and so this has been a real family room for us. And here we have the pictures of our boys, and Ray's going to come up close to them and get them to show our collage of all of their
Yeah, I guess you better.
Here we have our school benches that we got at an auction one year, and we sure want to take them to Arizona with us, but they're like a snake trying to pick them up. And here's a picture that Terry made for us. We have a lot of taking the corner of the room. I wanted to get the bookshelves that Ray made, and you can see all of our tapes lined up. And now we come to Ray sitting there with the TV where he does all of his taping.
We have 101 tapes as of right now. For someone who was going to start out by maybe having 12 at the most, we did pretty good, I guess. Or pretty bad, depending on what you think about it. Why don't you show them behind this wall here is the heater. We have a picture of that.
Mm-hmm. That wall moves out with that sailboat on there. That wall just comes out, and that's where the heater is. And then that's the doorway that goes back into the workshop.
Why don't you just walk back in the workshop and I'll walk along with you. Get up high though, the floor's kind of dirty. A little packing.
This has been a nice area. The workbench was here, and that was one of the things that our new owner wanted to keep here, and so that is something that we'll leave. And then I'm going to come back and take a peek around the corner. Everything is kind of messy here, but at least gives you an idea of our work area. There's my laundry, my ironing board, the door to go out to our upstairs that goes outside, and it's going to show a lot of light, but at least it gives you an idea of how easy it is to get out of our basement if you can get the door open. And so there's the bright sunlight coming in with Ray's silhouette. So that finishes the tour of our house. We have loved staying here, and we just wish the folks well who are going to live here as soon as we leave in 1 month.
preposterous idea. An outrage against South Dakota's Black Hills. What arrogant stone carver could possibly improve upon God's mountain sculpture? But as the faces of the great men sprang lifelike from the mountain, Rushmore simply overwhelmed its critics and dazzled the world, just as the Republican ideals it honored had inspired and dazzled mankind in 1776. The project was conceived by a gentle scholar, Doane Robinson, in 1923, at a time when the nation was prosperous and cocky. Robinson proposed that several granite spires in the Black Hills be carved into massive human figures. Lewis and Clark, Buffalo Bill Cody, Chief Red Cloud, or other Western heroes. To the sculptor he called upon for help, Gutzon Borglum, this idea seemed as bold and brilliant and as fragile as a rainbow in the western sky. The son of Danish immigrants, Borglum was a man who dreamed big and talked big, a man ideally suited to the times and to the carving of mountains. American art ought to be monumental, he said, in keeping with American life, and Rushmore ought to be colossal in keeping with American achievements. Borglum found the needles impressive, but too weathered for sculpting. Mount Rushmore, however, seemed perfect. Stone with a finer grain and texture. A mountain big enough for Borglum's imagination. Borglum argued that a monument on this scale should represent our entire national experience. His final concept would be a tribute to the founding, preservation, growth, and development of the nation. These events would be symbolized by the images of 4 Americans who never lost sight of the simple idea that man has a right to be free and to be happy. Washington, Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln. Jefferson had articulated the central idea of the American democracy. We hold these truths to be self-evident, he wrote in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. More than 20 years later, when Jefferson became president, the red-haired Virginian also proved to be a great nation builder. His purchase of the Louisiana Territory in 1803 opened the way to America's westward expansion. George Washington was the father of his country. In the darkest hours of the Revolution, his courage and resolve seemed never to falter. By sheer force of character, he brought the nation victory in the War of Independence. There were some who wanted to crown him emperor, but Washington would have none of it, choosing instead to nurture, in his own words, the sacred fire of liberty. As our first president, Washington set about to make the lofty ideals of the Declaration of Independence work in practice. For his iron rectitude, for his inspired vision of the future of a free people, and the dignity he brought to the office of the presidency, Washington will be remembered for as long as men dream of freedom. The great emancipator, Abraham Lincoln, guided the destiny of the nation during its greatest trial, the war between the states. Let us by faith, he said, that right makes might, and in that faith, let us to the end dare to do our duty as we understand. Lincoln was a prophet of America's permanence and of liberty, tolerance, and social justice for all our people. 4th of July, 1930. In 1936, President Franklin D. Roosevelt spoke of the permanent importance of Mount Rushmore at the dedication of the Jefferson Head.
10,000 years from now, if we can meditate and wonder whether our descendants, because I think they'll still be here, what they will think about us. Let us hope that at least they will give us the benefit of the doubt. That they will believe that we have honestly striven our day and generation to preserve for our descendants a decent land to live in and a decent form of government to operate under.
In 1941, as the final dedication was being planned, Gutzon Borglum died, leaving his son Lincoln to close down the work. When he first arrived in the Black Hills, Borglum was 57. Until his death 17 years later, Rushmore had been the focus of his life, his all but impossible dream. In both its conception and realization, Rushmore is uniquely American, proclaiming bold ideals and big aspirations, celebrating the spirit of our people and the sweep of our civilization, reminding us of the hope a democratic society offers the future. It is a monument no less to the men who, working together, transformed a lofty dream into a colossal reality, a work of art for the ages. A monument's dimensions shall be determined by the importance to civilization of the events commemorated, Borglum had said when he began. Let us place there, carved high, as close to heaven as we can, our leaders, their faces, to show posterity what manner of men they were. Then breathe a prayer that these records will endure until the wind and rain alone shall wear them away.
Look at all this. You're right north.
Get the more president.
In the middle.
I found out where good hiking is. So we'll have to spend some time hiking in this area. Amazing, isn't it?
approximately 1/2 hour. If you look right back in here, you'll notice just how dark, especially the younger trees are. Their trunks are very dark. And especially in the distance, this darkness feels very mysterious. A little thing that's built well, trees when they press like when they breathe out, they have a tendency to put off a light bluish haze. And from a distance, again, it makes the hills look very dark. There was so much mystery about these black hills, especially as the opportunity to come across I-90 heading from the east. Coming over, you'll notice that we'll have a lot of prairie, and then all of a sudden you'll see this black hazy thing on the hill. Those are the black hills. This is called Pahasapa by the Indians. It means they translate hills that are black. The Indians consider this sacred ground. Part of the reason for that is the beauty of the hills here. With that, they have several legends that bring up the memorial, though, while we're looking at it from this angle. Let's see if the sun comes out and help us out a little bit. If you take a look from here, you can see especially the detail on Theodore Roosevelt. Lots of people miss the fact that he does have glasses on up there. There's something also with Abraham Lincoln. His hand has been carved up on the mountain, although it's a little tougher to see because it wasn't completed. But if you look just below his beard up there, you ought to be able to see 3 stair steps. Those stair steps are part of his knuckle. If any of you have the Mount Rushmore brochure, take the second rock, its lower right-hand corner, and you'll see a big black diagonal that leans to the right and goes down to the base of the mountain. Can you see that? Verbal response?
Yeah.
Okay. See it? Can you see it with your lenses? Can you see it there?
Find the dead tree.
No. Let's start again then. If you go to the top of Abraham Lincoln's head, right at the very first started carving Mount Rushmore, even before he had this dream to carve it, he had to overcome several things that just seemed impossible. Carving mountains successfully had never been completed in all of history, as close as we can tell. So there was a lot of things. When you come to a mountain and you see it, and project to put a lasting memorial to 4 presidents and to the entire American people on that, people would come up to him and say, "It's impossible, you're crazy." Well, I want you to witness the impossible this morning. First of all, to give you an idea of what the impossible might be like, how many of you have ever seen somebody pull off their thumb? Well, we do get to it like this and just kind of pull it off. This rock was chosen because it had a great southeastern exposure. Because of the consistency of the rock itself is named after a lawyer from New York named Charles E. Rushmore. Mr. Rushmore.
Beautiful sight to wake up to. Sitting up here on top of the Rocky Mountains. What a beautiful view to wake up to in the morning. Saw that right out your bedroom window, didn't you, buddy?
Yeah.
Get ready to fix our breakfast before we go out and see this beautiful place. This is...
What's for breakfast?
We're going to have waffles and eggs.
Typical breakfast.
Yeah, typical breakfast. That's nice for Betty Crocker to fix me waffles.
only thing we have to worry about is to make everybody seasick.
You started yet?
Yeah.
See the water. There it is.
Flight will offer this to Planters Planetarium.
Now, will you want to get out on this side?
No.
To take any pictures?
No. Yeah,
I get it. Find a place. It's going to be on this side. Probably drive right under that. It'd be nice to keep our eye on it. Sun on it up there on the high part. Water's on the other side. You can get me driving and the water behind me. Really rushing.
Doesn't look red.
Oh, that sun on that. See that? Of the big mountains with the snow on them. Isn't that gorgeous? And I think that we're staying here 7 days.
Great.
Estes Park. There's the big dam. Lower hills around the city are different.
This is the town of Estes Park. Estes Park.
Snowy mountains over there. It goes to the top of Powder Mountain. Run right through the town of Estes Park. Now we're looking at the Continental Divide. Our campground is nestled inside. Not far from our campground, and this is where we got our wood table. Junction is 8,940 feet. The junction ahead marks the eastern end of Trail Ridge Road. It is the premier summer route through the park, but the road is closed each winter by drifts that may be 35 feet deep. First opened in 1932, Trail Ridge Road is the highest continuous paved road in the United States. In part, it follows a route once used by Ute and Arapaho Indians, as well as earlier prehistoric people of unknown name. Their artifacts, including a variety of projectile points, record a human presence in the mountains as much as 11,000 years ago. Aboriginal fire rings are most common at treeline. Also near treeline are the inconspicuous remnants of several prehistoric rock-walled game drives that enable these people to harvest mule deer, bighorn sheep, and elk. Hidden Valley, 9,240 feet. Nestled in the hillside just ahead is the Hidden Valley, a recreational center for downhill skiing. The snow often lies 5 feet deep here and the summers are cool. The perfect climate for subalpine forests of Engelmann spruce and subalpine fir. Vast forests of this type extend throughout the park between 9,000. This is the road that we just came up from Hidden Valley, and the mountains that we see on the other side that have not been visible from our park. We're looking back at the entrance of the park where we just came in and panoraming the valleys and the moraines, the ridges that are between the parks. And so we're coming to the ridge that we climbed on yesterday, which is just above our campground. And that overlooks Moraine Park, and right above Moraine Park, right above Moraine Park then is Long's Peak. We're at Many Parks Curve at 9,620 feet. Prominent in this fine panorama are several parks or mountain-enclosed meadows. The long forested ridges separating these parks are moraines, great heaps of rock debris that glaciers pushed or deposited along their sides between 150,000 and 12,000 years ago. Even old glaciers existed here, but erosion has obliterated most evidence of their passing. To the west of your view and generally behind nearby ridges lie the head walls where these glaciers originated and began their journey to the valley floors. Most extended less than 5 or 6 miles. Where people gather, so do the common birds of the Rocky Mountains. The noisy black and white Clark's nutcracker, the blue Steller's jay, distinctive in its black crest, the quiet gray jay, and the noisy black raven. These are the gray jays and the chipmunks that we see all over. They're really friendly here because they're being fed. Parks with the rocky ridges of moraines in between them.
This one, the first one that man he had a handful and he got the whole handful. He stuck in his mouth and then went down to the rock and took him out there.
I don't know what that bird is. I'll have to look it up in my book. Now, and that's at 10,829 feet. Here, more than 2 miles above the sea, every exposed tree is blasted by wind, ice, and grit into distinctive flag shapes. Branches survive only on the downwind side of tree trunks. Higher still, trees survive only where the severely pruned shrubs are covered and protected by winter snowdrifts. Directly below lies Hidden Valley, isolated by a ridge from Horseshoe Park. Melting Pinedale glaciers left moraines along each side of Horseshoe Park between 30,000 and 12,000 years ago, and Hidden Valley was thereby blocked off. Fall River now meanders through Horseshoe Park, where a glacier once ground its way eastward. A gray, light-colored annual fan of rubble is conspicuous on the north side of Horseshoe Park. Floodwaters deposited this debris in a matter of hours, when a dam at Lawn Lake gave way during the early morning of July 15, 1982. The raging waters scoured a stream valley for 5 miles, then disgorged the boulders, gravel, and sand onto the floor of Horseshoe Park in a rocky layer 44 feet deep. As we drive along, we're seeing above the tree line. So looking from this peak that we've just arrived at, I'm going to pan down to the valley below. We are really on the top of the world. And as we park here, there's the snow been cut away for the road. And we're going to just keep right on climbing up there. It's a little cloudy today, been some haze, but such beauty. The clouds are really moving in fast, as they do every afternoon. We've had 14,000 elevation, 14,000 miles away from this road as we travel. Where's the swayback?
Down there in the bottom of this seeing that little saddle there?
Forest Canyon Overlook, 11,716 feet. A 5-minute walk leads to a dizzy panorama of Forest Canyon and its tributary canyons. Hayden Gorge and Gorge Lakes will be seen. Here, the erosive force of glacial ice is unmistakable. Although on the trail and looking at the tundra, and it's really gotten cold up here, and we had things in the car to bundle up. The gray jay perked on top of the world. The ice did not reach where we stand. It still lay more than 1,500 feet thick in a V-shaped stream valley. With the grinding force of a giant rasp, the ice scoured the valley into the distinctive U-shape of today. The debris, of course, now lies downstream between Moraine Park and Mississippi Delta in the Gulf of Mexico. Even today, the high country is reshaped by geologic forces. Water-saturated soil slides slowly down slope as lobes of earth and rock patterns appear wherever repeated freezing and thawing churn the earth. You will frequently hear squeaks and see fist-sized pikas hopping across the rocky slopes. These little relatives of rabbits busily gather and dry plants in hay piles all summer to ensure a winter's food supply.
Kind of pretty with the clouds over it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's not as foggy now that we're up here.
Yeah, it's clear.
But you sure can see the tree line. Long's Peak, 14,256. I said 14. What did I say when we were driving?
So it's 14,000 miles away.
Come on.
It's 14 miles and 14,000 feet. Is that a marmot? That may be the marmot. Looks like a small beaver. Oh, there's another one.
There's a storm gathering over McHenry's Peak.
Rock cut, 12,110 feet. Here on the roof of the Rockies, the climate is rigorous. Severe weather can come at any time. Periods of drought may occur both summer and winter blizzards are frequent. Temperatures remain below freezing all winter, and they frequently drop below freezing in summer. The growing season is only 6 to 10 weeks each year. Wind speeds can exceed 150 miles per hour in either summer or winter, and ultraviolet radiation is twice what it is at sea level. Sunlight is 50% more intense. And yet, life has found a way. Most plants are perennials. Each season they develop buds for the next year of growth. All tundra plants are small, low-growing, and compact, enabling them to avoid the abrasive, desiccating winds. Many continue the pigment which converts sunlight into heat. Many plants also possess hairs or waxy surfaces, reducing water loss. Despite the severe conditions, more than 100 species of flowering plants live in the alpine tundra of Rocky Mountain National Park. A stunning, rich, and fascinating world. We've been following the Tundra World Trail, which offers a journey across the alpine landscape. We need to walk slowly for the altitude, and we are careful to stay on the paved paths because the tundra is easily disturbed under footprints. And here we see the little alpine flowers that will be able to live in this high country. And on the rocks we see the lichen, is that how you pronounce it? That begins to form a base for further growth, but there's just not much heat ever gets up here to help. And actually up here high on this trail, we're going to where the Utes used to cross the divide. And the path we've been following has also been the trail that the trappers followed when they crossed the Continental Divide. Live in Estes Park. We've walked over a half a mile, maybe 200 feet above where the car is parked to this high altitude. And we read along the way that for every 1,000 feet that you climb, it's like driving another 600 miles.
Right on.
Depend on that compass, I think you're looking east. Now you're panning towards the south. We're on top of the rock. Top of the world. Now looking towards the west. The road just keeps on going. And around to the north. Love the tree line. You should get your picture taken. You've done all the work. Dirty trailer. You got the trolley, huh?
Yeah.
Take one last goodbye. We have a view from every direction. That's a view towards the trailer, towards the Estes Park. The clouds have come in again this afternoon. Grandpa.
Take it,
Oh,
Grandpa.
what you got? Tell Grandpa.
Fishy.
Who caught it?
I.
Did you do it all by yourself? What did it do, Shelley, when you caught it? What did it do in the water?
Wiggled. Wiggled.
Did it jumped?
Stop.
Did it jump high?
Uh-huh.
Was it hard to pull in?
Uh-huh.
Oh, were you tired?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And yours is the biggest one of all. Ah, boy.
I got.
Yeah, you got it fixed. Woo, careful, don't touch anything. Morning. We're waking up at the ranch in Arizona, and it's cloudy, but beautiful. And we just had a wonderful 4 days with Guy and Cindy and the kids, and we woke up to a clear sky every morning. And this is our view as we wake up, looking out of our bedroom window. Howdy, partner. We're at the ranch.
Grandma, the Martian. Usually I'm just in hot water.
Now you're under fire.
Quit that. It's their lake. Big lake at the ranch.
I'm giving a panorama of the
Okay. get
pretty
the other
hills.
side. We get the other side from the balcony.
Look out close to the lake.
Just look to the south.
Supposed to be fish in that lake.
Clubhouse.
We had pancake breakfast there Saturday morning.
As we walk up the stairs.
Did you get both of these hills? The panorama view looking towards the east on the road that we came from Springerville. And these are called Cinder Hills from volcanic rock. And then we come to the ranch. Yeah. I actually go riding. Did you at the country store? The country store and the administration building as we come in, checked in. The panorama over the trees, I think I see our flare, Ray.
Is that where you're going to go horseback riding?
Uh-huh. Oh, can you see the bulls, the white bulls ahead down there? I don't see them.
Not out.
And then right down there, I think is the flare window. That tan RV, or tan van, and then I think that's our window just to the left. We had a cloudy day yesterday, and then this morning we woke up with beautiful sunshine. We've walked down to the sports area. Nice little walk. And there we see the only cowboy hat-shaped pool in the world. And I see written on the bottom, it says, The Ranch. Tennis courts here in the foreground, and then they have two basketball half-court, looks like, to practice free throws, huh?
Yeah.
And then in the distance over there is the horseshoe pits.
Look at the view from here.
And then the view over the top of the farm buildings. Where are you?
Sitting on top of the
Mogollon?
Mogollon Rim.
For the night.
Okay.
Not taking me, talking. Huh? This isn't quite the same cliff, but that is so steep down there. And if you look down and follow a tree up, maybe then you look out over the distance and tell how far it is, how steep it is. That must be Apache country over there, those hills. There's a lot of trees. Are these ponderosa here?
Yeah.
These look like ponderosa, but we've
They are.
been in white pine, so that were so beautiful.
I have the wind going.
Yeah, let's hear some of the wind.
Always wind.
Oh, it's such a balmy wind today. It's a sunny day. Right on the edge of the Mogollon River.
Some dam.
Huh? Oh, yeah. I guess I can talk while we're running this. We have been at Elvado Lake Camping Resort. We walked down this hill twice. And now we're just going to take a drive down here to see what the lake looks like. Hey, in the dam so we can looking down into where the river starts, the Chama River, and the electric power station across the lake. There's a state park over there that would have been a 4-mile gravel road for us to get into, but this is close to where we were camping last night. Oh! Say that again.
The house right out here on a point would be a pretty good view.
Oh boy.
Too hard to get down to the water, but
We went over the dam and up on the hill, and so now we're headed back towards the lake again and the dam.
one-way bridge.
With the word.
And there's the lake. El Vado Lake. This is a beautiful spot.
New Mexico.
Yes, in New Mexico. We've had a lovely 2 days rest on our journey north to Colorado.
It's a nice place for the sunfish.
Yeah, these big open lakes. We had a lot of wind up here. Not heavy wind, but it was lovely. There's the road we head out, going back up the hill towards the campground. There's the spillway. Down farther, this Chama River just was so pretty, winding through the hills. And they take rafting trips down, and the road goes way out around, doesn't even come close to this little river. We have climbed to 10,000 feet, and look at that gorgeous view. Get down to the tops of those pines. There's the road we've come up, and those cliffs in the distance, I think is where the lake was, Ray, where we were. Way over there. Look until our water went out. Cool, cool, cool. We're up here where the aspens are. On top of the world. Look at, oh, there's, you can see that U-turn right there going around those. We made several of those tight turns. We're hoping we have enough gas to get to the next town.
This is a view from the front of the trailer and out of the bedroom window. That which you're seeing in the distance is Pikes Peak. Beautiful day. Spruce, quaking aspen. Very nice place. Okay, I wanted to get a picture of the teepees. All right, come on out.
Indian squawk.
Side of the teepee. This is the inside. You can't get back any further to get the whole thing, but these are the aprons along the side, so the air can go up through from the bottom.
It doesn't touch out there. You can see the ground, but then these are here.
And each one has a pad inside for people to stay.
You talk about it.
And this shows another one of the teepees, and what she has is a pole there, and that pole then opens up the flap up on top, which allows for the smoke to get out, because the Indians actually had their campfire inside. They used bone or sticks then to lace up the front, which they could in certain weather then be able to even open that up more, and then they have their door that they could close.
A pocket at the top so they can hold it up there.
I wanted to get a picture of that different type of pole. I'll go in the telephoto and get this one.
so that
Trying to see inside this flap now.
that flap then has added a big triangle thing that's tied down over there, but then the top of it is the one that they can flap it either way, probably according to the wind.
Look at that mountain bluebell. Flowers are so pretty up here. Okay, this is the little play area for the kids. Isn't that cute? And Grandpa's gonna walk up there and show us how tall the doors are. The kids can climb in there and even go up on the second floor. Oh, hi Grandpa, wave to us. Kind of a low door there. Watch your head. You got some gold to check out? Can you get up that ladder? There you are. Yeah, like old Tucson. Fall off of the hill.
Look, kid.
Isn't that cute? I'm going to pan up the hill now. Way up there on that hill is where our camp. They're pretty. Purple seems to be one of God's favorite colors up here on the mountain. That's the third one. And the lavender. Get back and get the bush too. See the difference in the bushes. We're climbing up that hill that I just took a picture. But God likes yellow too. Isn't that pretty? Without hardly any leaves at the bottom. Little flowers coming up. Did you get me talking? More yellow. A little daisy-like flower. It still has some pretty long stems up here. We're not up before. So we climbed up on that hill that I was taking a picture of, and now we're panning around, and there's the little frontier town down in the valley. And this place is called Cuddy's Alpine Lakes, and so as we came in, we saw a whole string of little lakes that are full of trout. Okay. Also, the clubhouse down there was really nice, and we played skip-bo last night with the Loftons and the Hortmans, and that was fun. And now, as we pan back over the tops of the trees, you'll be able to see Pikes Peak. This has been a beautiful place. There's a little windy road going through that valley with a house on the back in that. Still some snow up there in them bar hills.
They're after they're raining.
Yeah, the clouds are coming. Over this area. See birds of what?
The water. It's coming through a narrow spot that's like a mini pool.
Absolutely. So maybe you would sing Rocking on Fire or something.
Welcome to the Essex Park Aerial Tramway. This unique trip is to replace the over 60 miles. With the next range of Stone Mountain, high above it all. This ride is the beautiful Essex Valley and Lake Essex. In your trail ride and
Crystal, show Grandma how you dive.
It was a strange sight for motorists along I-19 this morning. It was a small plane just made a landing, an emergency landing on the highway.
It happened just north of the Pima Mine Road exit. The pilot was circling the area to allow a passenger to take some pictures. Well, the engine began to sputter, and the pilot decided to put the plane down as quickly as possible. The highway was the only place he could land, so down he went onto the southbound lanes. After checking the plane over, it was determined that the engine troubles were caused when the plane turned too sharply for too long a time. And since there were no mechanical problems, highway patrol officers stopped traffic and simply allowed the plane to take off again right from Interstate 19. Not an everyday right there.
No, it has been a rewarding couple of days for the
Loss of power. He thought at first he ran out of fuel, so when he found a clear spot on the interstate, he landed. Skowron said he wasn't safe. Came in handy when the pilot of this Cessna 172 needed to land. The pilot, Ed Skowron, says he and Mike Mitchell were flying over Green Valley, taking pictures. Skowron felt a partial loss of power and thought he was running out of fuel. The only place close by was I-19. So he touched down and cruised to a stop on the median near the Helmet Peak interchange without any injury to the craft, its passengers, or anyone on the road, luckily. Still, it must have been quite a sight to anyone who saw it happen.
To allow a passenger on board to take some photographs. Well, the engine began to sputter, and the pilot decided to put the plane down as quickly as possible, and the highway was the only place he could land it, so he put it down on the southbound lanes. Apparently, the engine troubles caused by the plane turning too sharply for too long a time. Highway patrol officers stopped traffic, and the plane took off again without incident.
Emergency landing strip today for a troubled aircraft. The pilot had to bring his plane down on southbound I-19 after he discovered a fuel problem. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Ed Skowron says he knew he had fuel, but decided to land the Cessna as a precaution. Well, later on, after the plane was checked out and everything was okay, Skowron took off from the freeway.
A pair of two.
California highway patrols are joining forces to man hundreds of miles of highway, keeping their eye on motorists this weekend. 2217-3390. These people spotted the body of a man wrapped lifelessly around a guardrail post. His motorcycle just a few feet away. He was pronounced dead at the scene. DPS officers say no one witnessed the accident, but they say he was eastbound going from Interstate 19 to Interstate 10. They say the man was 20 years old, stationed at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. His name will not be released until his relatives are notified. Operation Care will continue through midnight Monday, the last of the three-day holiday. This is the third fatality of the Labor Day weekend in southern Arizona. DPS officers hope it'll be the last. Saul Saenz, Channel 13 Nightcast.
They claim too many people could have been seriously hurt if the posts came down. But one fan who was hit says the officers were way too rough tonight.
The crowd.
They say they had to protect everyone tonight.
We are very pleased with the results.
It's not unexpected to have trouble when the two state rivals meet. Thousands of families living in
Clean injuries. The fan who was arrested was charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing. 3 other U of A police suffered slight injuries. They say they were treated at University Medical Center and released.
The town of Bethlehem is the interior of El Camino Baptist Church. The church has been transformed into a turn-of-the-millennium marketplace whose visitors travel back to the year 0. Roman soldiers herd them through the dusty streets filled with haggling vendors, beggars, and barnyard animals. The road ends naturally.
For people who tried to be home by Christmas. Others say they just drove by the barricade. Here in our area, yes.
Police are hoping to keep it that way. City, county, state.
People have been killed in car accidents. No word yet on how all of that can...
We're getting a crash course on driving on slick roads. One man died when his truck went into an icy skid sometime last night along Interstate 10 south of Tucson. The truck apparently rolled over. The driver tried to walk away, but only made it 100 feet. He died at the scene and was discovered early this morning. His name has not been released tonight. And just down the road, another truck hit some ice and skidded out of control this morning. 2 girls, ages 2 and 14, were riding in the back of that truck when it flipped over. Incredibly, they suffered only minor injuries. Officers say the ice on the road is very hard to spot, and they are urging drivers to slow down.
We're on the interstate near Vale Road. Police are not releasing his name yet, but he's 23 years old, and he apparently fell asleep at the wheel. Officers say he would have survived the wreck if he'd been wearing seat belts. And even though the weather has cleared here in Arizona, officers say you should be extra careful on the highways.
He got a job in this mill. The old American Sheeping Tin Mill used to be located here in town. He worked here for 21 and a half years. That's the only time in his life he ever had a steady paycheck. This is all carved from memory, approximately 30 years after he left the mill. It's all walnut and ivory. See the rivets in your stack here? Each one of those rivets is about a 1/4 inch long, hand carved and inlaid into the wood, one rivet at a time. And anytime you see rivets on any of the engines today, that's what they are. They're not little specks glued on. Now these chains, all one piece of ivory to start with, one solid piece. Now go back here. Then he had his 30 throat out once in a while. That was his Irish buttermilk he said. About 90 proof. When he was 7, he died, they never had him balling. He's already pickled. Now this is Mooney right here. The left man on the shear. He's the head shearsman. They cut all the jagged edges off the metal, got it squared up and ready for shipping. And right behind me is a picture of Mooney on that shear, and Tim on the left. That apron he's got on that picture is hanging down here. All the fellows wore leather aprons to protect their stomachs from the jagged edges on the metal. So when Mooney worked here, he only weighed about 127 pounds. So now it would take him about 9 months to make one mill. That included all the carving, all the animation. He made 5 of them all together. He later destroyed 3 of them. We have 2 of them left. If he made something, he wasn't quite perfect. He'd break it up, burn it, start again. He burned 3 of these mills. Carving was a hobby.
Take a lifetime to make one.
Carving was a hobby. He never sold a carving in his left brain. All those blades are interchangeable into these last 5 handles. He had a different type of blade for every type of carving. He designed all the blades, handles, he tempered all the steel for them himself. He used to call those his smart knives. He always said he was dumb, he just had a smart knife. Now, if you see the parts and the frames in this case, who likes to put puzzles together? You put all those together, you'll end up with a locomotive like this one right here. Now, you see parts of ivory in here, it has a curve in them. Now, ivory will not bend. Anytime you see a curve in ivory today, that is carved in there. It is very brittle, you cannot bend it. Also, another thing I've done, he got a little pair of pliers. That was his calling card. He made those by the hundreds of thousands, probably close to 750,000 of them in his lifetime. And he used to guarantee he'd make those in less than 20 seconds. His fastest times on the Johnny Carson show in 1965, he cut one in 9.4 seconds. He was 80 years old when he did it. That's also the only thing the man ever sold in his life that he made. The little pliers. Back in the early days, he had 17 carvings and no place to show them. They're sitting all over the house. So he and his brother rigged up a little traveling show, started traveling around the country, trying to raise a little bit of money. And Moody's a national border showman. Everybody considers him a genius. You have to make up your own mind on that. Most geniuses are introverts. Moody's the opposite. He's an extrovert. There we go. I mean, one person walked through that door out here, it was showtime. And I mean showtime. Except when he's on the road, if he stayed out there, he'd outdone 50 farmers. Only he's a little more honest farmer. He saved those nickels in cigar boxes. So he had enough money to go to his first museum, which is now the Button House out front. That's what paid for that building. And the workers got paid in nickels, too. Now, if you take a piece of wood like this and put 32 cuts in it, then you get 3 of them. Now, on June 24th, 1913, Moody rode his bicycle home from the 511th pair of flights. Now, they had this at the 1933 World's Fair in Chicago. A fellow there by the name of Robert Lee inside. We never oiled it. One engine here has been running for 77 years. That's never been oiled. You'll see it in the next room.
What was the name of that wood again? I didn't hear you.
Argudo.
Okay, thank you.
Now we got one into the left shape. See a lot of those over the years. here's a shop manual, or a repair manual. When he got started, he could never get plans to these engines. The company's guarded very close. Besides that, they didn't those little guys in Dover down here trying to get their plans all the time. When he's 12 or 13 years old, he already knew all the parts on an engine. So when he got ready to start one, he'd get a repair manual like this. He'd get his small parts out of there. He'd have pictures of the outside of the engine. Sometimes he'd go look at them. Between everything, he'd come up with plans to look at one. Out there on the wall is a couple of knives. During the Second World War, they didn't carve anything. Some of the local guys in the military wouldn't have his commando knives they was issued because they couldn't depend on them to get the break. They got the money, one hit to make some. Now, it took a lot of talking. He was split. He did not like wars. He finally relented, started making them. He ended up making about 1,100 of them. He tempered and forged all the steel for the blades himself, guaranteeing not one would break, not one ever did. The handles, either ivory, ebony, or walnut, preached over there with the name of Hero. And all these people believe in the engine great power. All he really has is a cruise steam engine rigged up in the base. Nobody can see, they know anything about it. See the doors open and closing up there? That's the sun god at 396. Over on the right is the firebox. You use that as part of the ceremony. You get a good hot fire going in there. You get some heat going down the pipe tube going in there. Time to load one of the things. Get the steam coming out there, put that into the bucket. When there's enough water in the bucket, the waiter will open those temples. Now the priest will how it goes. You get everybody upstairs, you go here, we're going to pray hard, we're going to get these doors open. Very soon the doors are open. We got a pretty con man right there. Not our last one. Over there in the first century AD, it's pretty poorly heliophile. And we have Leonardo da Vinci camp. It required 79 pound followers, 1,200 feet. The only problem was it took them 2 hours to build up enough steam for them to shine. Not been worth too good. Over here is where I do the proposed. Proposed because he never actually built it. We found the fact that this is the test that we passed away. And they came this one as the test. The idea was, it didn't come out of the south and back, make the people go forward, came right into the engine today. Over here we have canoe steam carriage, used for French Army on. He built that for his the horse on the field during our solar. The back row is the best friend, that's the first locomotive built in the United States. Over here is Old Ironside. That's the last of the fleet cars in the United States before we died. That's also the first engine that's involved in engine work. Down here in front we have a couple of road models. I want you to look at the security mechanism on this one right here on the reed. We did that after everyone out back. Back in those days out the road. The road goes one wheel, back to pull in the middle. After I did about 4 at night, it goes to the other wheel. That's all part of it on the balance inside. You look close, you can see the brake and road part in there. The Tower Bridge, go to Newman, 1829. First time you had one driver driving both ways. In fact, here's Illinois. That's the first engine used coal instead of wood by the boiler. That's real coal. When it gets picked up along the track. Like he picked up enough coal along the track to heat his house and his workshop in the wintertime. It's also the first engine had a reverse releasing oil. Cools down, the oil gets back into the wood. He used that on the bushings for all the axles and all the moving parts of everything you see running in here today. We never oil them. That bell road's about a masterpiece in itself. All the writing in the base, each word, hand carved in ivory, and then made into the wood, one word at a time on both sides. The emblem of the Great Northern is that emblem today. On this one, the mountain goat and the rock are ivory. The background, the lighted trees, the mother of pearl. Each of those letters in the circles is hand carved in, laid into the wood, one at a time. The safety chain in between the wheels and the fenders. The chains on the back here, got the post on it. All carved out one piece. I just like to inlay all those rivets one at a time. As it comes around this side, look underneath the cab. Got a little joints, slides, elbows, unions. All ivory.
How long did it take you to build it?
Pardon me?
How long did it take you
A
to
little over 7.5 months. Self-taught. Yeah, no lessons. Crazy. Yeah. Ivory spikes. That was one of his favorites there. Here's a ivory wall. Somebody built this stuff for it. Here's the #1 grade of ivory in the world right here. The eye tooth of a hippopotamus.
used at one time. You'll see it after a while. That's the whitest, purest, hardest ivory. Compared to the second grade of ivory, that's your walrus. Below that, we have the elephant, number 3. Now, see how small its elephant tusk are at the top? That's the baby elephant's first tusk. They lose it just like our kids lost their first teeth. The only difference is when their second one comes in, it never quits growing as long as the heartbeat. It never stops. Over here, we have the Nora whale, or narwhal. They're an endangered species today. They live up in the Arctic Ocean. Just a few thousand of them left. They got the nickname the unicorn of the sea. Now, just the males grow one of those. And it grows right out of his left nostril. That's what you call having a real snoot full there. Yeah. Little tusk over here from Pygmy elephant. Never used any of these carvings, just there for you to see. Those little elephants, the only animals you ever carved. Now, for the top right, the toothless sperm whale. Now, this is the only carving here Mooney ever set a goal on and missed. His goal was 1 year. It took him 1 year and 4 days. There's over 11,000 parts in this case. The base on this for your viaduct, golden ebony. Just as hard as your black. Each one of those squares is hand carved. No luggage, no passengers.
Where did you get his
After all these years, we got our first train. Never lost his temper. You always got to take one head and your temper. This is the John Bull, first rated scheduled passenger run in the United States. They're ran from Ferdinand Boy to Camden, New Jersey. This is 78 miles. It went 11 miles an hour. Now your first air conditioned coach right there. This engine was imported from Australia. Maybe in 1831. They got it over here. They put it together. It's one very important part missing. I wasn't in the team. I didn't know what. They cut for the wood line. So the engineer said he had to have something so the people knew the train was coming. So he mounted that cannon on there. Every time they go into a town, they fire that cannon so that everybody knows the train is coming. That's your first job, Jack. Back in the old days, you get your job, you have to pay it for it. Find the lights up, put job factor on the front, shove them off the track. If you come right, cannon spotted, each time they came on. He got to where another fellow had a hand car. The two of them together took that hand car to where the engine unit was sitting. The unit gave chase, didn't have enough speed to catch the general. They got to where the Texas is sitting on the site, backwards. They put it on the main line, they chased him going backwards, and they caught the general. Now the general had
of the Ramada that were resort. And Dixie Belle Cruises, the Dixie Belle.
over a real mountainous road from Prescott to Jerome on our way to Page Springs. And now we're looking out over the Sedona, starting to look out over the Sedona Valley, and we stopped to get a picture. And there was a trestle of some kind of old mine up there. And now we'll pan down these beautiful rocks into the valley below. And the cliffs in the distance are the red cliffs of Sedona. It's not be able to see them very well though. But the red rocks here are sure pretty. We're driving and I'm getting more of that.
They had to put a road up here to get that equipment up here.
And here's a hairpin turn that we've been on, lots of them, coming down this mountain. Out the front window shows this town. It's on the hillside, an old mining community. Out the front window again, that's dirty. Give everybody the sensation that we feel. house on the hill. Yeah. And over there on the hill wasn't that the mine owners?
Yeah.
It's a nice museum now. We're not taking time to stop and see it now.
Right this side.
Oh, there's the town up there. We just came through. And there's the hills we just came over.
Probably when we get down there in that board, you can see it on the side. There's guys that live up there right now.
Of the baby duck.
This is a picture of Page Springs. Caught a fish, caught a trout this morning in the creek. There's our trailer, or RV sitting there. The view of the trailer. Good thing this isn't smell-o-vision. Just went by a skunk.
When the United States, Great Britain, and the Netherlands cut off all oil imports to Japan, war became imminent. The United States Pacific Fleet, based at Pearl Harbor in the Hawaiian Islands, was the greatest threat to Japanese expansion. On December 7, 1941, after months of planning and training, the Imperial Japanese Navy launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor with torpedo planes, bombers, and Zero fighters. The strategy was to destroy the American fleet so that it could not stop Japanese expansion. The fatal flaw in the plan was the assumption that the attack would destroy American morale. Instead, the American people were united as never before. A typhoon, which destroyed an invading armada in the 13th century, caused the Japanese people to believe that they were invincible, protected from attack by a kamikaze, or divine wind. On April 18, 1942, this belief was shattered when 16 U.S. Army bombers led by Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle swept in from the sea, bombed Tokyo and 4 other major cities, then vanished as swiftly as they came. The real damage was psychological, not physical. Surprised and unnerved by the bombing, the Japanese response was to extend their defense perimeter even farther into the Pacific. The Battle of the Coral Sea brought to a halt Japan's military expansion. Coral Sea was the first battle fought by fleets which never saw one another, fought by the aircraft each carried. It began on May 4, 1942, when a Japanese naval force en route to capture Port Moresby on the island of New Guinea clashed with American ships, including the carriers Lexington and Yorktown. When the smoke of battle had cleared, each side had lost a carrier. The Port Moresby attack was canceled, and with it, the Japanese threat to invade Australia. The Battle of Midway, 6 months after Pearl Harbor, was the turning point. The Japanese plan was to lure the remaining U.S. Pacific Fleet into battle, destroy it, and capture strategic Midway Island. Brilliant decoding of Japanese messages by Navy codebreakers identified the invasion target as Midway, and a trap was set. Dauntless dive bombers from Yorktown and Enterprise, diving from 15,000 feet, changed the course of the war in minutes, sinking 3 Japanese carriers. Within hours, a 4th Japanese carrier was sunk. Admiral Nimitz said, "Pearl Harbor has been partially avenged." The first American ground offensive in World War II began on Guadalcanal, a malaria-ridden island at the south end of the Solomon chain. In enemy hands, Guadalcanal threatened supply lines to Australia and New Zealand. The battle for Guadalcanal lasted for 6 miserable months. Fighting seesawed back and forth, Americans in command by day, Japanese by night. While the fighting raged on land, 6 naval battles were fought and 65 combat ships sunk, many just offshore in what became known as Iron Bottom Sound. After capturing Guadalcanal and the Solomons, tiny Tarawa was next. Its Japanese commander boasted that 1 million men could not capture it in 100 years. It took 76 hours and more than 6,000 lives, a high price for a square mile of coral. The next island targets were the Marshalls, the Marianas, the Carolines, and finally Bloody Palau, each worse than the one before. As Nimitz's forces moved across the Pacific, General MacArthur's troops fought desperate battles along the New Guinea coast toward the Philippines, jaws closing on the Japanese homeland. Iwo Jima, a tiny volcanic island only 660 miles from Tokyo, was next. Seizing Iwo Jima was the model amphibious operation of the Pacific War, and one of the bloodiest in the history of the United States Marine Corps. 21,000 seasoned Japanese troops had transformed the island into a fortress, with concealed gun emplacements and miles of underground caves, rooms and tunnels from which they had to be blasted one by one. The photograph of victorious Marines raising the American flag on Mount Suribachi became the most famous of the Pacific War. The battle for Leyte Gulf has been called the greatest sea battle in history. It was Japan's decisive battle, a daring last-ditch stroke to conquer the United States Navy or bloom as the flowers of death. Leyte Gulf was a decisive battle, a resounding victory for the U.S. Navy. The war did not end with the battle for Leyte Gulf, but never again did the Japanese Navy have the power to contest the sea. It was here that Japanese first used suicide pilots, the dreaded kamikazes, their last deadly weapon of the war. Each Japanese-held island on the road to Tokyo was taken at a greater cost than the one before. As expected, the campaign to capture Okinawa was the most deadly of the war for the Americans. More than 12,000 soldiers, sailors, and Marines were killed and 40,000 wounded. 26 American ships were sunk by kamikaze pilots and 368 damaged. Okinawa was to be the last island battle before Operation Olympic, the invasion of Japan scheduled for November 1945. The more Admiral Nimitz's staff studied the proposed invasion of Japan, the deeper were their forebodings. The leaders of Japan knew they had lost the war, but the samurai spirit would not give in. Then, at 9:15 a.m. on August 6th, a B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, dropped an atomic bomb which exploded over Hiroshima, headquarters of the Japanese Second Army. Even after a second bomb was exploded over Nagasaki 3 days later, the highest military authority in Japan refused to surrender. But the emperor, realizing that continuing the war would reduce his nation to ashes, accepted the surrender terms. On August 14th, Radio Tokyo flashed the emperor's decision around the world. World War II had ended. On board the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Bay on September 2nd, 1945, the Japanese and the Allies signed the instrument of surrender. General MacArthur on behalf of the Allied powers, Admiral Nimitz for the United States. Thus ended the costliest war in the history of the world. Remembering those who gave their lives, Admiral Nimitz said, "They fought together as brothers in arms. They died together, and now they sleep side by side. To them we have a solemn obligation, the obligation to ensure that their sacrifice will help make
Again.
Huh? You should see the big goldfish down here. They're huge. Walk over here.
Japanese Garden of Peace. Take the Admiral Nimitz historical site.
History that began right here in Fredericksburg with the birth of a little boy named Chester Nimitz, who was destined to become Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific.
A Japanese Chiha tank. The Chiha carried a crew of 4 was powered by a V12 diesel engine with 150 horsepower and armed with a 47mm gun and 2 7.7mm machine guns. This tank was recovered from the U.S. Naval Gunnery Range and has been restored to appear as a Chiha used in the defense of Saipan by the 5th Tank Company of the 9th Tank Regiment Japanese Imperial Army.
Rain-drenched, humid Buna on the island of New Guinea above Australia. On the day before Christmas in 1942, this American M3 Stuart tank, commanded by Australian Sergeant Jack Lattimore, was moving down an old airstrip. This Japanese 3-inch gun behind you, which had caused so much trouble, supposedly had been knocked out. But suddenly, as Sergeant Lattimore swung his turret to the left, he saw a sister tank go down. Then his own tank was hit. He tells us what happened.
And as I turned right, I saw the flash of the gun. There was a frightful impact. The tank just jarred to a halt. The impact was so great that I was unaware of any real noise. It seemed impossible to describe just how the impact was. Everything just stopped. As a matter of fact, my watch stopped and the time was 11:27. As I looked around, I realized that we had been very badly damaged. I looked down and there was a gaping hole in the hull gunner's position with Corporal Foster, my hull gunner, obviously dead, smashed back over his seat. And then I saw my driver dance around.
Amphibious operations, landing vehicle tracked, LVT. Amphibious tractors like this one called Marine and Army troops over coral reefs and onto the beaches of fortified islands with strange sounding names like Tarawa, Saipan, Guam, and Iwo Jima. Early models had neither ramps nor armor plating, and casualties were often high as they turned slowly toward shore. Boy, that thing's big. Weapon for both Marines and Army. For example, before the invasion of Tinian, the island from which the planes took off to drop the atomic bombs, more than 100 big guns of this caliber were lined up on Saipan, firing several miles across the channel and softening up the Japanese defense. And then this is a 105mm howitzer. Howitzers like this one from the U.S. Marine Service used both by Marines and Army. They fired 33-pound projectiles that ranges up to 6 miles. You getting stuff behind too? Want me to read? I don't know what the numbers are. Let's get over this. A naval 5-inch dual-purpose gun. Guns of this type saw service on many Allied ships, from destroyer escorts on armed guards to armed guards on merchantmen. Equally effective against surface or air targets, a crack gun crew could fire up to 22 rounds a minute at a maximum range of more than 6 miles. And then the next one was that anti-submarine warfare Hedgehog and K-gun, that little funny-looking thing. The Hedgehog, developed by the British, was placed on the forecastle of destroyers and destroyer escorts. Each rocket was fired ahead of the ship by an explosive charge in a base. The charges hit the water in an oval pattern, and anyone striking a submarine or a large fish could fire all of them. Would fire all of them. And then the big one next. Destroyer warfare. Torpedo tubes from USS Foote. Torpedo warfare reached a climax during World War II in the South Pacific. For the destroyer Foote, the moment of truth came during the Battle of Empress Augusta Bay off the island of Bougainville in the Solomons on November 2nd, 1943, when she was hit by a Japanese torpedo which flew off her stern. Foote's men kept their ship afloat despite its being dead in the water, with the main deck awash astern. She was towed to Purvis Bay across from Guadalcanal for repairs. The mast stands beside the Nimitz Hotel. Oh, that's interesting. And then that other one way down there, the twin 40mm Bofors gun, developed by the Swedes before World War II. This reliable weapon fired 120 rounds a minute at ranges exceeding 5,000 yards. It was primarily anti-aircraft. Most Navy mounts were quadruple. Submarine warfare. Fair water of the USS Pintado. Admiral Nimitz wore the gold dolphins of a submariner, and he understood the vital role of the submarines in the Pacific War. Fortunately, the submarines at Pearl Harbor were not destroyed by the attacks on December 7, 1941, and they became the backbone of the Pacific Fleet. None could tell a better sea story than this one before you. Her skipper, Commander B.A. Chick Clary, sank the Tana Maru, largest Japanese merchant ship sunk during the war, twice. The first time she was torpedoed at Kavik Harbor by the USS Amberjack while Clary was the executive officer. The Japanese raised and refitted her. The second time the Tana Maru was torpedoed was by the Pintado with Chick Clary as captain, and she was sunk in deep water for good. Kawanishi N1K1 Kyofu wreck. The Japanese float plane you see is a wreck, the most effective fighter seaplane to reach production. Built by Kawanishi late in the war, its powerful 1,460 horsepower radio engine gave it the Japanese name Kyofu, or Mighty Wind. The plane was designed to support landing forces where there were no airfields. Probably only 3 are left today from a total of 97 produced. From the wrecks, the Japanese developed the George, a high-performance land-based fighter plane. Like many other objects here, this plane is on permanent loan from the United States Navy.
These were Japanese destroyers. Commodore Burke's warning was the punchline from an old sea story, understood by all.
Hello, folks. This is Kirby. Hang on to your hats, boys. Here we go again.
Then, to turn the destroyers toward the target.
Boat for Kirby. Prepare for action to port. Division Norfolk 085. Tag, hold back until you get your proper bearing. That is 225. Acknowledge. All hands, man your battle station. All hands, man your battle station. This is no drill.
CIC was a product of World War II. Radar repeater on the ship's bridge.
Thus began a night of action which the President of the Naval War College called the almost perfect destroyer battle. 3 Japanese destroyers sunk without a single hit. We thought the Japanese might have some cruisers in the area, so what will we do to attack? We both radio silence to send our first contact report to Admiral Hall. We didn't know what the outcome of this battle was going to be. I was responsible.
Post-war years exhibit among the unsung heroes of the Pacific War were the man and one lady, Mrs. Ruby Boy Jones, who hid out on the lonely islands, constantly risking capture and sent important radio messages about Japanese ships and aircraft movements. U.S. Army Command Post is the one you're looking at now. Though little publicized, the Army participated in most of the Pacific War. This command post represents the early days in the Solomon Islands. Featured is the 1942 Ford Jeep, as it would have been seen on Guadalcanal or Bougainville. Nagasaki type atomic bomb. This Batman bomb case is identical to the Mark III atomic bomb dropped by the B-29 boxcar on Nagasaki, Japan, on August 9, 1945. Although the gross weight of the bomb was 5 tons, the plutonium charge weighed only 90 pounds. Its force was the equivalent of 21,000 tons of TNT. 5 days later, President Truman announced the unconditional surrender of Japan. The TBM Avenger. This is the type of aircraft flown by President George Bush during the war. The Avenger could carry 2,000 pounds of bombs, depth charges, or a torpedo, and was first used in combat at the Battle of Midway.
Marietta Creek and the Pecos River at the southern end of the San Luis Cristo Mountains. It was a place of great natural beauty. The soft red and brown colors of the rocks are complemented by the rich greens of juniper, pinyon, and ponderosa pine. The open meadow grass varies with the seasons and the rainfall. A mile and a half west of the ruins lies the nearest point of the high escarpment of Glorieta Mesa, which marks the southern end of the Rocky Mountain system. On the north side of the mesa is a 30-mile-long natural pass that became a portal for Spanish explorers, traders, American troops under General Kearny in 1846, and the scene of a Civil War battle in 1862. The Santa Fe Railroad and a modern highway continue to carry travelers through this farming area. The Pueblo is of particular interest to the archaeologist and historian, partly because of its strategic location and the long tenure as an abode of ancient people. About the time of our painting, it is believed to have contained more human beings than any other permanent settlement in the United States. First settled by Pueblo Indians about 1200 AD, it was continuously occupied until 1838. For defense purposes, the people concentrated on the top of a small tongue of rock where the ruins now lie. The earliest buildings were long rows of rooms built up with rough stone walls, covered with flat roofs supported by log beams.
Coronado was 1840. Horsehead Crossing. Many trails came together at Horsehead Crossing along the spot of the Pecos River. Oh, this is in 1850, and it depicts the river current nearly upsetting two wagons. In 1859, they built a ferry here because of the potential danger. where it all started. The famous Santa Rita #1 near Tucson, Texas, was the first major oil well in the Permian Basin.
Home with her husband, the driller, at a wildcat well 30 miles from the nearest town or railroad. It is a bright spring morning, and the vast yard is a carpet of flowers. She has completed her washing chores and takes a few minutes to feed her chickens, blue quail in this case. Her husband, having finished his work shift, sits on the step of their new shack and smilingly encourages her activity. This dwelling is a plain one-room affair of pine and tar paper, with canvas wool curtains to keep some of the dust from the screened windows. A similar shack in the distance to the right is bunkhouse for other members of the crew. The tall shape of the derrick of a new cable tool rig dominates the scene, and the men are busy beside the walkway, unspooling drilling line. For the bride and her husband, the world is young and they are beginning a new adventure.
The strangest event in oil history was when this well spouted salt water. In 1922 in Mitchell County, Texas. The Indians gathering precious salt. 50 miles southwest of Midland near the Pecos River in Crane County. They use salt for curing animal hides and preserving meat.
The Midland Basin to the east and the Delaware Basin to the west, with an island chain or platform in the middle. Sediment flowing into the sea from the northwest and eastern watersheds brought large amounts of nutrients, and sea life became abundant. Organic reefs grew around the borders of the shallow sea and on the islands, much as they do today in parts of the Pacific Ocean. As the era closed, Earth stresses again climaxed and lifted parts of the basin platform 10,000 feet above sea level. The Delaware Basin was depressed around 5,000 feet. What we call the Permian time period was beginning. Millions of years passed and the stresses subsided. The high mountains were worn down through time by erosion. The seas began depositing limestone again, and reefs and banks of shells formed, fringing the central basin platform and forming a continuous band along the edge of the northwest shelf and the north and east edges of the Midland Basin. Life on the reefs was prolific, but the seas were gradually receding southward, and as evaporation exceeded the inflow of new seawater, more and more minerals were left in the water. And like the Great Salt Lake or Dead Sea today, conditions for life in the sea steadily worsened, with the water now containing more and more salt and gypsum. The sea continued to recede, with the Midland Basin growing saltier. Finally, only the Delaware Basin contained normal seawater, and the final reefs of the era were formed around the edge of the Delaware. The final 5 million years of the Permian saw the waters of the entire basin filled with salt, limestone, and gypsum. At this time, dry, wind-blown silt and sand were added, covering the older rock. The next 115 million years, from 225 million to 110 million years ago, the area was a low, flat plain, just above sea level. Red clay and sand were washed down from freshwater lakes and deposited here. especially in the southeast, around the Edwards Plateau in the central Texas Hill Country. Again, the sea slowly retreated, leaving the land we now inhabit dry. And since then, the land has been at peace, except for one brief upheaval about 11 million years ago, which lifted the Rocky Mountains. This was followed by a rapid wearing down that brought sand, gravel, and even boulders into the Permian Basin. This debris filled the former valleys and produced the plain now called the Llano Estacado. In the last 6 minutes, you've witnessed changes that geologists say took 500 million years. Huge forces were brought to bear to shape the area you're now in and create and trap large resources of oil beneath your feet. When you consider the events of these 500 million years and consider that the written history of man goes back only 5,000 years, we can almost say with the psalmist David, 1,000 years in thy sight are like yesterday when it passes by, or a watch in the night. We look around and think sometimes that everything has always been just as it is now. To our eyes, change happens slowly, because our lives are less than 100 years long. Yet, to a geologist, 100 years is but a watch in the night. And in the 500 million years just covered, there has only been dry land here about 20% of the time. Before man came, there was the sea. The sea has retreated now, and the Permian Sea is only the Permian Basin. But who knows what exciting things the next 500 million years may bring. Geologists say it took millions of years for the extra layers to be added. The time sequence might have been like this.
Long before the dawn of recorded history, cavemen used it to salve their wounds. More than 4,000 years ago, the Babylonians used asphalt to pave their streets, waterproof their boats, and hold their mud brick buildings together. Less than 2 centuries ago, American Indians and settlers alike bathed in oil springs to cure everything from rheumatism and toothache to skin disease and coughs. So when Pittsburgh druggist Samuel Keir bottled and sold his rock oil as a cure for just about anything, he was simply following centuries of tradition. Little did he know that his strange concoction would play a part in the petroleum boom that would soon change the world. By the 1850s, kerosene, made from coal, began to replace the smoky candles and expensive oil then being used for light. But when chemist George Bissell and a group of investors discovered Keir's rock oil was a cheaper and better source of kerosene, they formed the Seneca Oil Company, and the search for oil began in earnest. The fledgling company hired an out-of-work railroad conductor named Edwin L. Drake, titled him colonel, and told him to drill for oil. In 1859, Colonel Drake made petroleum history when he hammered a 69-foot hole down into a Pennsylvania oil seep to complete America's and probably the world's first true oil well. Builders and investors swarmed over the area around Titusville, and the boom was on. Fields of green were turned into forests of barracks, and towns like Pittsburgh and Oiltown sprang up overnight. New companies like John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil began to dominate the world's oil markets. The kerosene age had arrived. But the best was yet to come. On January 10, 1901, on a low Texas hill called Spindletop, America's first big gusher roared into life. There had never been such a well. It flowed 85,000 barrels a day, and about equal to all other wells in the U.S. put together. Soon, Derrick jammed the hill so thick, men could step from rig to rig without touching the ground. The resulting ocean of oil had to be stored in huge open pits, often with disastrous results. The enormous quantity of oil that flowed from Spindletop and from even larger.
How much is that on? How much is that on?
Low hills and warm, shallow seas. Around the edges of these seas, reefs similar to those now found in Florida or the South Pacific often formed. You're now standing about 30 feet down on the seaward side of one of the ancient reefs.
I'll tell you all about that. I'll say it was something. Jim and I lived in tents for the first 5 years we were married, while the first head didn't even have...
The pipeline patrol and that airplane. Early pipelining.
Pipes and maintaining wells. This is where servicing and workover play a major role. Almost all producing wells, sooner or later, slow down in their production.
In that building is the motor that's doing the pumping, and then on the left is the counterbalance, so that the motor doesn't have to work so hard. And this is Santa Rita number 2, was moved from Texon about 80 miles southeast of Midland, except for the wooden derrick. It dates back to 1923. Santa Rita number 1 is said to have brought the first boom to the West Texas oil industry in May 28, 1923. There's a walkway out there through the oil patch that leads viewers through the world's largest flood. A lovely setting we have at Bay Oaks Harbor. There's a little playground behind us, but the swimming pool over here was really, really pretty with the the stone waterfall. We've had heavy, heavy rain, so at least the guys out cleaning it up a little bit. Picture of the waterfront where you can see where people build a slab. They're getting ready to build a house, and then the next guy is building a pretty fancy house, and then next to that is a clubhouse that's not used anymore, but we sure enjoyed it because we sit on the porch in the evenings or walk around there and standing on the veranda of the clubhouse. I feel like it's almost our own private one. Nobody's ever down here. And there's the pier that we go walk out on. At night we see the birds. We'll try to get some tonight. And then as you come up, there's another building that somehow was used for maybe snack shop or something. And so we go over there and sit out of the wind and just enjoy the view. down here. The water is calmer than it has been because there's fishermen on the dock while we aren't going to be able to get our boats and our frames. We have walked out a ways on the dock, and there's a stick out there that a bird always lands on every night. I hope he shows up. So let's walk on the dock.
Get this guy taken.
Huh? Who's there? This is the first stop, and we're at the Rances. National Wildlife Refuge. We've just been through the Visitor Center where it shows all kinds of pictures of the birds and the animals. And this is the first stop on the trail. And there's an alligator right there in the pond. Sign that used to be on our outside of our kitchen window on 44th Street. I was seeing all the grapevines, some kind of grapevines, been hanging on all these live oaks. Here we've come out on a boardwalk that shows us the marsh wetlands. The tall grass is growing. We hear a lot of birds, but it's hard to see them in the thick undergrowth. Can you see that?
That was it.
Can't be the same one, but they sure move fast. They just keep it rolling.
No, sure. It was so good. I had a very, very well, here was the mark there.
There's another one. Look it over under that table on the bench, over there laying down. His head poking out. We were walking on the path on Dagger Point Trail, and we saw this snake skin on a tree. And he looked like he curled his tail around a limb and then just crawled out of it. Your senses as you enter a world of sights and sounds, of smell and touch, a world of mighty oaks and delicate flowers, of brightly colored birds and shy animals. Discover the world of big trees. This is the Big Tree Trail, and there's a lot of mosquitoes. There's a lot of big trees. Boardwalk. And there's the observation tower we're going to go to. During the winter, each whooping crane family occupies a large area or territory on the refuge. The family defends this home ground from the intrusion of other whooping cranes. The expanse of flats seen from this tower is usually part of the territory of only one family of cranes. Here, in peaceful isolation, they hunt for their favorite foods, blue crabs, clams, snails, and other small marine creatures. In addition, they make frequent flights inland to seek acorns, berries, insects, and crayfish. There is the tower, and Ray's walking up there. Here he comes. This is 4 turns to get up here. This is a really tall ramp. Now as we look out over the whole span of the flatland, this area is for what? Whooping crane. That's incredible. They're a big bird. They really eat a lot. What you doing?
Watching a guy go up the pilot house on that dredge boat.
Get a good view?
Yeah, okay. Working towboat.